We run, we win. Hello guys, I'm James, and today we're going to talk about atheistic, humanistic television. Now first of all, if you are thinking this is a video about what atheism is, this is not what the video is about. If you want to know what atheism really is all about, just ask the King of Heaven, ask God to grant you wisdom, and He'll tell you exactly what what atheism is. Atheistic humanistic television, this came because I was watching a Christmas video, Christmas motion picture made for television film, and it surprised me because you really can't take Christ out of Christmas because, you know, Christmas, Mass of Christ. So you can't really take God out of Christmas because it's just in there. I mean, if Jesus wasn't there, you couldn't even celebrate anything. You'd have to change the whole title and name of the thing. So you really can't take it out. But what I did notice was that throughout the entire motion picture, I believe I watched it twice. I noticed the first time, but the second time I really actually noticed that this video, this motion picture, there was nothing Christian in it whatsoever. I mean, all the ornaments were all, you know, secular. There was Santa was all over the place. I'm not even sure if I even saw a Nutcracker, but I mean it was just Santa, Rudolph, and just snowmen and all sorts of holiday, cold winter type stuff. But throughout the entire film, I mean, even for the musical soundtrack, every time they played a Christmas song, it was a secular Christmas song. You know, stuff you won't find in the hymnal. You know, the carolers, that comes from the shepherds in Luke chapter 2. That's when they went and told everybody after they saw the baby, Jesus, they went and told everybody what they had seen. And so that's where the concept of caroling came from. But in this motion picture, the people went caroling and they sang, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, fun songs, but it didn't have it. There was nothing. There was no, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, there was no cross anywhere. There was, I mean, the production design, nothing. God wasn't mentioned. I mean, nothing. There were no, they made snow angels in the movie, I do believe. Someone in the movie, there was someone who made a snow. But that's not, I will put that in there, but you know, that's just, we'll give him a point for that. But I mean, really, to tell you the truth, God was not mentioned. It was a surprise to me because I never actually noticed that in a motion picture. But I want to let you know that I've discovered that it has happened in other television shows too, and it is referred to as concept as atheistic humanistic television. You know, atheism, where there is no, they don't believe in deity. And humanism, where humanity is the epitome of, and where humanity goes is dependent upon humanity, and we get our moral code from humanity. So that's why atheistic humanistic television, when I saw that motion picture, I was surprised. But then when I look back, I've seen other motion pictures and televisions that make no references to religion whatsoever. It's just like stock. You know, like this one was just, it was just Christmas, but there was nothing in it. So I'm talking to you, especially if you're a parent, but even for yourself, understand you have to, there are actually stuff out there that makes no reference to religion. And Psalm 14:1 says, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they have done abominable works, there is none that doeth good." Psalm 14:1. 3 reasons why you should watch out for atheistic humanistic television, especially if you're a parent. Now this won't affect your child if you teach them properly and stuff like that, but I mean really, I was surprised. I mean, how can you make a Christmas thing without God in it at all? But whoever did that, they worked pretty well, and he left them out. One, it's unrealistic. Atheistic humanistic television is unrealistic. The universe doesn't work that way. I mean, the largest group of people on the planet, I mean, if you could do demographic wise, the largest religion is Christianity, but the largest group believes there is a God. But the Bible says in Job 38:4, "Where wast thou?" This is God talking to Job. "Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding." The universe is a spiritual, mental, and physical universe, and to actually portray that there is no God is unrealistic, first of all, because you live in a world where the majority of the people are affiliated with some type of religion. And if they're affiliated with some type of religion, then that means your child or you are going to run across religion. And unlike this particular motion picture, religion didn't come up at all, which is impossible. It's tactically impossible for you to live in a world without religion. Your child will live in a world without religion. They will run across it. So it's first of all, it's unrealistic because religion exists, and of course, it's a spiritual universe. There are things that are unseen that made this realm. That's just it. That's a fact. Science always has to keep coming up and catching up with new things that are constantly being discovered, because the physical universe is just, was created by a spiritual universe, and the science just cannot explain it all. And so they have theories and things like that. Even the Big Bang is referred to as a theory. It's not referred to as a law. It's not like the law of motion. Evolution is referred to as a theory. So even the people who are promoting it as absolute 100% fact, they can't, because it's called a theory, because they really have absolutely no proof that would move it into the level of a law, which means we can't actually make it into a law thing. It's not a law. And it's interesting that that's one of the first things you learn in science class, is that if it's, first you have a theory, but then you have to prove it for it to become a law. But people are just saying Big Bang and saying evolution, but we really actually can't prove it. It's just based on observational, observations, Kids look like their parents. Oh, so we must all came from some blob in the ocean. But really, forgive me, Lord, I shouldn't have said that. Okay. You don't need to be mad. But it's just unrealistic. Your child is not going to be able to function in the world, in a television world, or in a world pretending there's no religion, because he will have to deal with religion. He will have to deal with the spirit realm. 2, atheistic humanistic television promotes humanism. We have to do everything ourselves. This is one of the things I saw in the motion picture. There was no help from God. They didn't contact God and ask God any help, how to fix all these problems. Obviously, eventually everything went well in the end, but all of it was just you coming up with what you can do to fix this problem and stuff like that. And, Jeremiah 17:5, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh the flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. Jeremiah 17:5. That's, they're trusting in themselves to get stuff done. It's humanism where you have to do it all yourself. If you want to be successful, you just have to rely on you, and you can't rely on anybody else. No one's going to help you, this, that, and the other. It's not good, because it ignores the spirit realm, and everybody has to do everything themselves. It's all cool until, of course, the humanist runs out of money, or medical science, or friends. So it's the problem with it, this is it promotes humanism, is that eventually you'll run out. You can have, Christmas, I want to have a movie where you're giving $1 for everybody who needs $1 at Christmas, but you'll probably run out because there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and at some point there's a saturation point. There's a time where you'll run out of money, and you won't be able to keep that going. And of course, medical science, you can rely on medical science until they decide that you're done. When they use the phrase, the doctor gives up on the person. Well, that's because the doctor gives up on the person because medical science at that particular time has to give up on the person. Or, you run out of friends or something. You can have a happy Christmas, all sorts of stuff like that, but you're relying on the motion picture. You go to get friends, and that makes the person happy. If that was the premise of the movie, it wasn't for this one, but but what if the person runs out of friends? Then they're home alone during Christmas, and they're miserable. They run out of friends. They're older. Their friends all stepped into eternity. See, it's neat to say you can rely on yourself and you don't have to depend on anybody and stuff like that. I'm not referring to trusting in flesh, because that's what humanism is. You're actually trusting in the bank to supply your need, or the government to give you money to do whatever you want to do and stuff like that, or your spouse to give you what you need to be whole and healthy, instead of dealing with, and emotionally secure, or instead of relying on God. So you just have to really do everything for yourself, and that's great if you have a lot of money, it seems, because you can go to college and have fun because you're rich. But for someone who's poor, growing up in a third world country, to what extent they'll have to. Humanism only works so far. There's it moves into, there's a saturation point because humanity cannot sustain humanity. There's too many people. I mean, the United States of America, 350 million people or whatever. But, you know, we can't sustain, our economy can't sustain 7 billion people, just us. You know, if everybody we just gave all of our money to, I mean, you just can't sustain it because humanity's not designed to do it. And there is a saturation point, thinking about this poor person, say, in this third world country. And, you know, and you can't, there's only so much flour you can send to another country. We don't have all the flour in, I mean, all the countries, you know. You just can't do it. We just don't have enough resources personally to supply for everybody, in a sense that everybody can get whatever they absolutely want. Humanity can't do it. God can. There's enough resources on the planet to let everybody have everything they want. But humanity, as humanism, we're the ones doing it and dishing it out. You know, it's just not going to work. Boy, that just really went to another direction, didn't it? I mean, you know, there is enough resources, but if you have a closed-minded person who's relying on themselves, you know, let's move on. 3, atheistic humanistic television promotes covetousness. This is how you end up with strife, racism, junk like that in politics. 2, I mean, it promotes covetousness because if you can't get what you want on your own, your money or whatever, you'll try to get it from somebody else. You know, oh, the rich people. Oh, well, that starts you getting into covetousness. Now you got the poor people against the rich people. Oh, because the rich people are the ones who got all the money. You know, their parents worked hard and now their parents have a fortune 100 years later. But, you know, this person in a third world country, they come over here and they see this rich person. It's like, well, you know, it breeds covetousness in it. Makes the person jealous, greedy, envious. Not greedy, but, you know, envious. So, I mean, you get and then it's bad business because you can get racial people, you can start talking about race when you're expecting humanity to take care of you. I mean, when you run out of money and you can't go to college, a particular person can't go to college, then what happens to this particular person? You know, now they got to go to the government. What if the government doesn't have the money for that particular thing? Well, I mean, then the person's upset and mad because of all the people who could go to college. Well, your parents are rich and they can pay for you to go to college and stuff like that. And see, I'm not rich and my parents, you know, that person's saying they're not rich and their parents can go. So now they're envious and they're hateful. And they like to watch motion pictures where the rich people are always, you know, miserable being rich. There's a lot of happy rich people in the world, by the way. But I mean, you know, and that creates rich people need to give to the poor people. Where's that in the Bible? You don't need to give to the poor people because they're poor. The Bible says the poor will be with you always. So you have to fix what's causing the poverty. If the lady is a party person who parties her check away all night, it doesn't matter how much money the government gives her a week, she's going to party it all out. You have to deal with the issue. But it breeds covetousness because she's mad because this person's rich, or this person's mad because the bank won't give them a house. So what does the person do? They get mad and they try to pass legislation to make the bank give them a house. Make them give them a loan even though they can't pay back the loan. Or college, you know, make everything free, you know, and stuff like that because you want the money from the other people because you don't have it yourself. And if they can't start finding other people to help them, then people start really burning with envy and some even start stealing. That's how people start stealing. So-and-so's, oh, they got insurance. Yeah, we'll just steal from them because they got insurance. That's stealing. I mean, you know, they're rich. They won't miss it. They'll be restored. From whence come wars? James 4:1-3. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lusts that war in your members? Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have, and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, yet ye have not, because ye ask not. James 4:1-3. That's where wars and stuff come from. They want something somebody else has. Back then they want the person's land, so they fight, kill the people. Yay! You know, they want it. You know, they want the land. They want the person's car, you know, down the drive in whatever city or state, you know. And so they steal the car. They want the necklace out of the store. So they steal the necklace out of the store. So what are they doing? They're envy because they have no recourse. Listen, atheistic, humanistic television and music and teaching says there's only you, and unless society helps you and gives you what you want, you have to do it on your own because you don't have access to the King of Heaven. This is the problem with atheistic, humanistic television, is because when you run across someone who really does need help, and all you've told them is that the doctors can help you. What if they're in a third world country and they don't have access to a doctor? I mean, what if they're in the middle of the woods and they don't have access to a doctor? And they don't have time to go find the person, and they just got bit by that snake or whatever. I mean, when you're cutting off access to the supernatural, which if a child, if we go back to A Christmas Story and all the things, not the movie A Christmas Story, if we go to a movie about Christmas, like I was talking about, the one I particularly saw, and let's say everything, didn't work out the way it was supposed to work out, well, what type of answers that kid have to do, particular, or the character? Well, the person actually would have to, they could seek God for an answer for the problem, because we thank God for good Christmas movies and people enjoy happy endings and stuff like that. But without God, there's a possibility that there is not going to be a happy ending in that story. Spiritually, mentally, physically, someone, so that is why it's so bad, because it doesn't give access to help if you can't do it on your own. See, you're pretending there's no other help. You can't ask God. Yes, you can ask God, and He will help you. He will give you wisdom how to fix that family problem. Thank God that we can have a motion picture where the people spell out the story and everybody got it. Yay, everything works. It's wonderful. Praise the Lord. But hey, in real life, it might not end like that in the story if it's just by yourself. Imagine a kid in school. He's got a mean teacher and his parents aren't doing what they were supposed to do. Well, atheistic humanistic television gives that kid no access to anything else. It's just, well, maybe you can put it up, and maybe if you work on your own and you try, maybe when you're 18 you can move out on your own and maybe you can be happy, because they don't have anything about intercession, asking God to have mercy on the parents, give God wisdom, provide a way of escape for the child out of that situation where the teacher's mean and the parents are just ignoring the child. See, atheistic human television somehow usually ends in a nice way for the child or whatever, or it just ends up horrible. But I mean, even if it ends up horrible, there's no answer for it. There's no way out. So atheistic human television, hey, it's unrealistic. The universe doesn't work that way. 2, it promotes humanism where we have to do everything ourselves. 3, it promotes covetousness in the end. So that is why you need to look out for atheistic human television, whether it's cartoons or whatever. You should read your Bible if you're a parent, your kids doing their devotions and stuff like that. You can tell it, but it's just a observation of something I had seen and didn't realize it until I started looking and seeing that there are actually a lot of television shows and motion pictures that just completely ignore the spirit realm, because the spirit realm really does exist, and that's what is the source of everything that's coming on to the physical realm, is the spiritual realm. So I love you. Thanks for joining me. Remember, rejoice and live, move, be.